Letters of John Nelson Darby, Volume 1, Letter 270E, of 1031. p. 454, W. Kelly, Dearest Brother, I cannot at the moment go through the whole structure of Mark, which with time I may do. He seems, too, to have rather collected the facts as to the Sabbath in this place. Chapters 2, 3. If so, absolute historical order would be too strong. But I do not judge that the case of Jairus is immediate on the feast. Compare Mark 2 verses 15 and 22, 5 verse 22, with Matthew 9 verses 10 to 17 and ver. 18. Two facts not at the feast seem to come in with delta nu tau epsilon, Matthew 9 verse 11, not, when, as in English, the Pharisees remarks on his going there, and John's disciples who were fasting asking as to it. With this last Jairus comes in, tau alpha tau omicron lambda omicron nu tau omicron, Matthew 9 verse 18. The tau epsilon, ver. 14, cannot be taken, if it be so, as an immediate note of time. There is another apparent difficulty in Matthew 9 verse 1. But from the other Gospels, that connection is not immediate. The distance in Mark is mainly filled up with the mission of disciples and parables, not events. But the difference is important because the Gadarene events come after the parabolic break in his history. It is this which would be thus mainly out of its place in Matthew. Here, Mark 4 verse 35, uncertain as Luke's expression is, shews the visit to Gadara was after the parables, and the same day. With time I may review the subject. As regards the title, of collection of papers, I should like some such thing as this, collection of early tracts and papers, as far as they could be recovered, some never published before, by J. N. D., with those published in French, several now first translated, together with a new edition of subsequent publications. The cover title would be simply Tracts and Papers, at top, J. N. Darby, at bottom. It was my own feeling led me to write to you, not H. N. D. I am not the least uneasy as to myself or as to doctrine. I mourn over these two brethren, that is all. But I am anxious that the brethren's testimony should rest on its own bottom, the unity of the Church of God, and not involve weak ones in disputations that would trouble them, but leave them all united on a common divine ground, not at all on my teaching. Satan would seek to give a character in this way. Hence it was I proposed leaving them out, not as not owning their position, but discharging them from my conflicts. I am not the least afraid as to my doctrine or the conflict, if there is to be any, but I do not want to burthen others. I go on with my work here just as before. If I am thrown into conflict when arriving in England, in waiting quietly on God, He will not fail to help me. Mere attacks I should take no notice of whatever. I have a much better place in doing work than in decrying others. I think of the brethren, not of myself, that they may be kept in unity on true divine ground as the testimony of God, as I believe they are. I should deplore as ruinous, slipping into the place of followers of a system of doctrine. D and H have not produced that effect. God has been gracious in this. It is an attack on me. Be it so. I am sorry for, but used to, it. On the other hand, their giving up sound doctrine and getting on such ground as H.'s mind was on, or giving doctrine formally up for peace, would be their ruin. They would go much farther back. All I seek is that they should be on their own quiet, solid ground. If battle there must be, I can take up the cudgels without involving them, if none, so much the better, if only decrying my doctrine, etc., there need not be any. I am happily uninformed of all that passes. The brethren, I believe, intentionally and very kindly leave me to my work. As to the question, Luke 22 verse 53, I think the Lord speaks generally, the actual accomplishment was when delivered. But it was seen, so to speak, in the Lord's mind from the supper, and he contemplates it as a present thing from Judas going out. No doubt Gethsemane must have been gone through before it actually came, but the devil had put it in Judas's heart, and had entered into him, the counsel was taken. And the Lord held it all practically to be then come. Your hour is the time in which the priests and scribes were allowed to have their way under the influence of Satan. Affectionately yours in the Lord. Detroit, September 18, 1866. 51270E.